Linda Skinner. I'm Oklahoma Choctaw. I'm 73. I like stories a lot. I've loved stories since I was a little bitty girl. And Indian stories have always been my favorite. So this is the story from the Cherokees a long time ago. And you can tell, just rolling hills and beautiful clear water. She has on the pottery beads that the Cherokees made in those days. It's a long time ago. And I'm lucky enough to have a string of those made by a Cherokee friend of mine in Tahlequah. This little girl was really special. She had such a kind heart. No matter where she was always looking for ways to be of service. And she lived the way she was raised. She was a really sweet girl. And everyone noticed the kindness in her heart, and they appreciated all the things she did for them. One day, she was just going down to the water, she was playing, and she noticed this beautiful butterfly struggling in the water. And the closer she got to him, she could tell he was going to drown if she didn't help him. So she gently lifted him out. She brought him over to some leaves and flowers, laid him out, and waited and watched. And the sun dried his wings out, and the butterfly could fly away. And that really made her feel good. It made her feel like she had made a difference in something that day. The next day, she went down to the stream to get water for her mother. And when she left, her mother said, "Be careful with the bark bucket. It takes a long time to make one." So she was really, really careful with the bucket. She went down to the stream. As she bent down to get the water into her bucket for her mother, she heard a buzzing sound. She didn't know what it was. She turned around and looked, and it was a mud dauber wasp, and he was stuck in the water. And when she looked closely, she saw that he too was going to drown if she didn't help him out. So she started to help him, and then she got scared. She thought, what if he stings me? So she started back to her home, the OC, house she lived in. And the closer she got to her home with the water for her mom, the more her heart just couldn't stand leaving that little mud dauber to die. So she stopped, she put the bucket down, she went over, she grabbed a stick, and she very gently put the stick under the mud dauber. She lifted him out, put him on some leaves to dry, and his wings dried out, and he could fly away. So she felt really good about helping him too. And then she went and took the water to her mother. A few days later, the little girl went to get more water for her mother. Of course, she had the bark bucket, and this time, something happened. She tripped on a rock and fell. She dropped the bark bucket. When it hit the ground, it broke into pieces. She did not know what to do. She was so upset, she did not know what to do. So she did what you and I might do in the same situation. She just sat down. She sat down on a log and she just cried. A bark bucket was hard to make. Now it was broken. She didn't know what she was going to do. All of a sudden, she heard some buzzing. The same buzzing she recognized from a few days earlier. It was that same mud dauber wasp. And now he's talking to her. He's telling her, "Little girl, don't be afraid. Listen to me. Stop crying. I'm going to help you. Listen to me. Watch everything that I do. I'm going to show you something that will help you and help your people." So he buzzed all around and he kept talking to her. And then he said, "Come with me." So she listened to the mud dauber. She listened really carefully. He told her, he showed her, he took her to places. He showed her up here, there was a good place to gather one kind of clay. He came back and brought it, flew to another place, and she followed him and got another kind of clay, mud. And then he took her to another place in the riverbank to get another kind of clay. And he showed her when you mixed all those kinds of clays together, it made it really strong and it would last long. And they got all the impurities out. And with his tiny little feet, he showed her how to make a tiny little pot that she could put things in. And he worked with his little foot, but it looked like a tiny little paddle as he worked to form it and shape it. She listened to everything he taught her. She remembered. And she went back so she could share her knowledge, her new knowledge from the mud dauber with her people. When she returned home with this very special knowledge and this tiny little pot, she shared the knowledge with her people. She told them exactly, she took them exactly where the mud dauber had taken her, and they gathered the clay from the special places, and they got the sticks and rocks out of it. They made it smooth, and they started working with it, and they remembered everything that the mud dauber, she remembered everything the mud dauber had told her, so she could tell the people. They made the pot in the same way. And she even told them that his little foot looked like a little paddle to shape things with. And so they made a paddle that resembled that. And then she told them how he used his little foot to incise the designs around that you can see with close-ups. But they did that. They used their designs and incised the designs, and Cherokee pottery has been made in that way for a very long time. And it was all because in the old days, a little girl was kind-hearted, and she cared enough about a little butterfly and a mud dauber wasp to make a difference in the world. And it made a big difference in her world and our world today. And I'm going to show you a pretty modern piece of Cherokee pottery right now. I'm lucky to have one of Anna Mitchell's pots. So I'm going to carefully get it. Luscious. And it says right here, Anna Mitchell, 1980. Love pottery. While I have you, I'm going to show you a Cherokee basket too. This one's kind of fun. She made it around a glass vase. So it's a flower vase that won't rot your basket. Great. Cherokee culture.
Go!